This is the Less Insurance Dependence podcast show with my good friend Gary Takas and myself, Naren Arulrajah.
We appreciate your listenership, your time, and most of all, we appreciate your intention to reduce insurance dependence in your practice. Our goal is to provide information that will help you successfully reduce insurance dependence and convert your practice into a thriving and profitable dental practice that provides you with personal, professional, and financial satisfaction.
If you've ever felt like your practice is just blending into the background, one of the 20 dental offices patients scroll past without a second thought, then this episode is for you. Welcome back to the Less Insurance Dependence podcast. I'm your host, Don Adeesha, and it's great to have you here with us. Today, we're talking about one of the most underrated drivers of a fee-for-service success, standing out. Because when patients can't tell the difference between you and the office down the streets, they default to whoever is willing to take their insurance. We're going to dig into how practices break out of the trap, from building a clear value proposition to owning a niche that makes you the obvious choice in your community. I'm joined once again by our very own co-host Naren Arulrajah, the CEO of Echo Marketing and someone who has helped countless dental practices build brands patients actually remember and trust. Naren, it's great to have you back on here again.
Thank you so much, Don. I think this is a really important topic, and this might come as a surprise for you, some of the answers I'm going to give. It's not how people think that's hurting them, it's just how they're not thinking that's hurting them. So I'm going to hopefully change a few mindsets in terms of how you look at things. And again, having done this for 19 years, I kind of know what the traps are. So hopefully you will learn about some of those traps that might be holding you back. And hopefully after the episode, you'll make some changes and, you're better for it.
Wonderful. That's what we like to hear. Perspective change. That's what our audience are tuning in for. So let's dive into it. In many cities, patients can find several dentists within just a few miles. So why do so many dental practices end up looking the same to patients?
That's a great question, Don. And I want to address it head on. I think the number one mistake practice owners and any human being makes, especially based on my 19 years of experience working with dental practice owners, is they don't put themselves in the shoe as the patient. They put themselves in the shoes of themselves. Like, in other words, they ask their team members, they ask their wife, and they ask their colleagues, and all these people are looking at it from the perspective of the dental practice owner, not necessarily from the perspective of the patient. Imagine you create a restaurant and you never think about the customer who's going to eat in that restaurant. Like, you're not going to cater to that customer, right? You need to be obsessed with the person who you are trying to serve. So I think part of this happens because dentists are trained so much about what they need to do and how they need to think. And unfortunately, not even 1% of that training is on being patient-centric, being customer-centric, giving customers what they want. Rather, 99% is science and, what you should do and could do and all that stuff. So I think that's where I would start, like flip the whole thing and say, okay, if I'm a patient who wants to come to this practice, would I be happy? And again, there's no one patient, there's different patients. And again, I think the different patients exist in different times, right? For example, let's say I love sushi, but I'm not going to eat sushi 7 days a week, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Some days I feel like eating sushis. Other days I feel like eating something else. I mean, that's the human nature, right? Now, I have been not only like running this company for the last 19 years, and I still have my clients from, 18, 19 years ago, but I also have been a dental patient for the last 19 years. My family has been dental patients. Like, if I were to look at us, I'm just looking at certain trends. We had 2 young kids. They both needed Invisalign, right? So of course, at some point in their life, they want beautiful smiles and they become conscious of it, maybe in their teens. So that's one of the use cases, and we literally wanted them to find the best person to help them with their Invisalign. We lost some tooth, so implants, was interesting. And also we know the pros and cons and, tooth, like all kinds of stuff around Invisalign. So we went deep and we tried to understand and look at all the options and the pros and cons with it. Another one is, of course, we all have had emergencies, right? Like once in a while, we all have like some toothache and, you're in trouble. Chip tooth, like sometimes you go on a trip somewhere and kids are playing sports, or you are doing something and you lose a teeth. So these are all different situations, and the way we react in those. I still remember one of my colleagues. We were supposed to meet up in Muskoka, a nice place, like a vacation spot, and he couldn't make it because he had a toothache the previous night, and his dentist was literally 2.5 hours away from where he was. So he literally gets up in the morning and gets into the car and goes to the dentist because, like that took priority over anything else, like spending time with the friends. Who cares when I have a, pretty bad toothache, right? So I think you have to start thinking, and there are patients also. I mean, we know from studies, half the patients are afraid to go to the dentist. They're afraid of the pain of dentistry, right? So, sedation dentistry, a huge opportunity. Like there are some people, that's awesome. Like if you can make them feel comfortable, some people want beautiful smiles, and some people have lost a lot of teeth and they want, implants, either so that they can live a better life, or because they just don't like looking at their mouth with all these missing teeth. So there are different kind of people. And I think if you want to be successful as a practice owner, you have to pick who do you want to be a hero to. Anyways, we'll get into more of this later on, but just wanted to give you an overview.
Absolutely. So if you want to stop looking like the same dental practices, you got to stop thinking like a dentist and start thinking like your patient. Now,
Exactly.
Let's talk a little bit about the value proposition. What does a clear value proposition beyond price actually look like in the real world?
Yeah, if we start with the patient and we ask the simple question, I can be a hero to 5 groups of people for 5 different situations. Who are those people? Who do I want to be a hero to? And the reason I picked 5 is, having done this for 19 years, if you only pick one, there might not be enough of a volume for you to be busy and be profitable. So that's what I'm saying, 5. It could be 3, it could be 4, it could be 6. I'm just using 5 as a rounded number. So for example, sedation, I kind of touched on it. So if you have a lot of people in your community who are afraid to go to a dentist and they have a lot of work, why not attract them? Why not, when they Google keywords like pain-free dentist or sedation, or, some even might know the different options of sedation, you show up again and again and again and again, and you dominate. So whatever they type in to do with sedation, you are the practice that just keeps showing up again and again. And they can start reading the reviews of how pain-free the experience was and how they dreaded going to a dentist. And with you, they got so much done and they're so happy for it because you just made them feel at ease, right? So that's an example of one group of people you can be a hero to, sedation. Another example, Invisalign. We talked about adults. Like I know a lot of adults who didn't fix their teeth when they were kids and they want to do it later on, like once they have their own money and so forth. Invisalign is a great choice because, it's invisible. People don't even know you're wearing it, as opposed to those metal braces that look ugly and make you look like a 13-year-old, teenager with bad teeth. So Invisalign. So you could say, I'm going to use Invisalign for adults. And there's lots of them in my community, in my patient base, and I want to be a hero to them. I want to really go after that. Or you could say Invisalign for teenagers, right? So I'm giving you examples. Veneers, right? Like a lot of people want that sparkly smile, that beautiful smile. Maybe they are in sales, maybe they are, growing in their careers and they are in customer facing roles and they just need to look a certain way and they just really can't, not smile and hide their teeth all the time. Veneers could be another huge, cosmetic dentistry. Veneers could be another huge, group of people you could be a hero to. Again, you can go after young people, career people. Sometimes it's even like, people who are in their retirement age. They have done their thing, they have spent their money on their kids, and now it's time for them to enjoy life. It's time for them to take care of themselves. Some people have gum disease, and they are becoming more aware of the connection of gum disease to dementia and heart attacks and all kinds of things. They are in their 40s, and they are like really paying attention to it. So you can really focus on attracting and taking care of those people who have advanced periodontal disease. And there's a large number of them, millions and millions and millions of them. Some people have sleep apnea. They can't, they're snoring at night, and especially again as they get older, and that's causing all kinds of other issues. And they don't want CPAP. They don't want those kinds of devices that are very intrusive. So emergency, right? That could also be a successful business. Out of my 400 dental clients, I have a few who just do emergency type dentistry. They open like long hours, and they have different associates, and anytime you have a need when everybody else is closed, these people are there. They'll take care of it. And you know what? People feel loyal to that practice. And once they took care of them when they were in pain, where do they go the next time? They go to that practice. Only when that practice is not open or they can't take care of them, that's when they go to somewhere else. Yes, it's a very small practice that only provides, not a small, but limited number of services. Like they don't do Invisalign and cosmetic and all that stuff, but that's okay. It's a high volume practice that's all about, emergency and day-to-day dentistry, right? So general dentistry, I think it should be the bread and butter. It should be one of the 5 things that many practice owners should focus on. Why? Because you want lifelong patients. Because once you have lifelong patients, they refer their kids, they refer their family, they refer their friends. And even when they move out, they come back because they love you and you are their dental family. You are the one they trust for their oral health. So these are some examples of who you want to be a hero to. So pick 5, pick 4, pick 3, and really zoom in on them. And then really start asking, if I'm in any one of those groups, let's say I'm that patient who's afraid to go into that dentist because of the pain associated with it, am I the one these patients are finding? Is my practice the one these patients are finding, regardless of what keywords they type in? I can use the same argument for Invisalign. Are you the one these patients are finding, when regardless of what keyword related to Invisalign or braces or crooked teeth that I'm typing, right? Then once I go to that landing page, are you convincing me that you are the best practice for me? Is there videos that really help me really fall in love with your practice and feel like at home? Do you have cases, many of them, like dozens or even like half a dozen, showcasing how you have transformed someone's lives with Invisalign? What about your reviews? When I go to your reviews, are they like people are loving it? If it's sedation and pain-free, or people keep repeating pain-free? And when I go to your sedation pages, I see those reviews that talk about how they were afraid to go to a dentist and how they love coming here now. So I think connecting the dots to these 4 or 5 groups of people, so every step of the way, whether it's them discovering you, finding you, whether them falling in love with you with the videos and the cases and so forth, and then finally reviews, they really know you are who you say you are. So you are truly that sedation dentist. You are truly that Invisalign for teens dentist. And it's not just you saying it, but the whole story adds up. I think that's the way I would think about it, right? And of course, it still doesn't finish there. Then the phone call comes in, and how is the phone experience? So when I call about sedation, is that person on the phone empathizing with me, really making me feel at home and making me feel like I made the right decision calling your office? So it's just connecting the dots. So put yourself in the shoes of the patient and start looking at your website. Start looking at, your SEO. Like, are you ranking? Start looking at the phone experience. Start looking at your reviews and saying, is it all A+ for each one of those 4 or 5 groups of people I want to be a hero to? It sounds so simple, but nobody does it. Like, if I were to tell you what I just told you, how many people that I know of who do it, less than 10%. Those 10%, of course, are running $5 million, $4 million, $6 million practices because they figured it out. That's it. There's nothing more to becoming successful as a dentist. Like really knowing your niche markets you want to go after and making sure the patient loves it every step of the way, especially in the early end, right? Where they find you, like you, trust you, and then, of course, book that appointment with you. But most people are getting an F, D- in these steps that I just talked about.
Right. So really packaging that value proposition as outcome-based rather than treatment-based is key over here, because the patient might be searching for, I have a broken tooth, I'm afraid of pain. They're not searching for sedation. They're not searching for the correct words that are used internally. But if you're able to show up, yeah.
This is why it's not just one keyword, it's 30, 40, 50 keywords. Why? Because you don't know what the patient is going to type in. They could be typing in, like for example, Invisalign gone wrong because they have seen this horror story of a friend who went to Invisalign and their teeth look like this, right? So whatever the fears they have, whatever the questions they have, they're going to type it in. So you better be the one that keeps showing up again and again, not just for one keyword like, oh, Invisalign or sedation, but 50 keywords related to that thing again and again in that community. So let's say if you're in a big city like New York, it could be like, a 2-mile radius. But if you're in a small town, it could be like, 100-mile radius, right? Because just people are spread out and so forth. So in that community, you better be the one that shows up for 40, 50 keywords related to that particular thing you want to be a hero to, that particular service to that particular group of people.
Now, Naren, some dentists try to offer everything to everyone. Why can positioning around certain treatments or patient groups be more effective?
Yeah, I mean, we've heard this as children, and I just try to find a quote. When you try to be everything to everyone, you accomplish being nothing to anyone. And there's lots of people associated with that quote. So I don't know who the original source is, but pretty much when you try to be everything to everyone, you accomplish being nothing to anyone. And I see the same mistake that a lot of practice owners make. They just wake up one day and they go to a conference and they learn about XYZ and they want to do XYZ. But all the other things they already started, whether it's Invisalign or sedation, when they look through the lens that I just shared with you today, which is, are you dominating a SEO? Are you ranking for 40 to 50 keywords? Is your landing page compelling? Does it have videos that make me like you? Does it have cases that make me believe in you? Does it have reviews that tell me that you are real, like you are really good at that thing? The answer is FFF. So what's the point of adding one more thing that you want to do well at when you're not already doing well at those 4 or 5 buckets you said are your topmost buckets, right? If you can't do all 5, start with one. Try to fix all the problems you have with that one group of patients, like whether it's sedation, whatever it is. Okay, I got that done. I got all pieces of the puzzle figured out. Now let me go to the next one and the next one. It's so much better to be really, really good at 2 or 3 things versus F in all things. You know what I mean? That's why you end up with the mediocre practice that's barely surviving, barely keeping up, barely paying their bills, where the doctor is a slave to the practice versus the practice is enriching the doctor, right? It just, everything changes when you really get good at this.
And that's the end goal for a lot of our listeners here, to really have the practice enrich the doctors' lives. Now, Naren, how does visual branding and consistency play a role in making a practice memorable?
That's a great question. So visual branding and consistency is important for a couple of reasons. People today are very distracted, right? It's so easy to distract someone. And it's okay for a third party to distract someone, but it's not okay for you to distract your own patients and stop them from doing what they would do. That would be a good thing for them or you, right? So really, really focus on not distracting your patient. And the book that I would recommend all of you read is a book called Don't Make Me Think. It's the Bible on usability and user design for the internet by Stephen Krug. Don't Make Me Think. Really tiny book. We'll put a link to it in our show notes. It's less than 100 pages, easy to read. But pretty much what he's saying in that book is you don't want to be distracting people. So if you don't have a brand guide for your website, for example, all your headlines should have a certain color, certain type of font, certain size of font. All your call to action should look a certain way, the font across the website. What branding guidelines means is you have consistent information you're using to brand yourself, consistent fonts, consistent font types, colors, and so forth. So just have that. We do that with every one of our clients. Every single client has a brand guideline, and then we first develop it, and then everything we do is based on that. That way you don't have to re-ask the same question. Oh, I'm adding a new page. What title text do I use? You know what it is. It's the same guideline. The advantage of that is you're not distracting your clients. Imagine if I go to one page and the heading looks one way, or one font and a different page and it looks a different way. I get confused. I'm like, why does it look different? I'm going on this tangent versus staying on point and trying to get what I want, which is, oh, is this the right practice for whatever I'm looking for, whether it's sedation, whatever. And then how do I call them? How do I book an appointment? So you want them to not get distracted, and not having consistent branding guidelines and not using them is a wonderful way to distract them. That, of course, that doesn't work in your favor. So I really, really believe in having branding guidelines and branding standards.
And that consistency, Naren, it really fosters trust, doesn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Because then they know that you're professional. Like everything you do it consistently, right? I mean, like why do people go to McDonald's even though everyone knows McDonald's doesn't sell the best anything? Just because it's consistent. Like they know what they're going to get, even if it's, thin and not so tasting, burgers, but they know what they're going to get. So if you are in Japan or a different country and you feel like you want to have a burger, you go to McDonald's because at least you'll know what you're going to get. You know what I mean? So that's why they are like a multi-billion-dollar company with billions of customers, every year. So
there we go. Now, Naren, we understand that it's not all about me, but rather it's about the top 5 groups of patients that our clinics really want to be a hero to. What is the ideal patient buying process? And based on your experience, where do practices go wrong?
Yeah, so let's say you have identified your top 5 groups of patients, right? So these are the questions I would like to answer. You asked me a very good question, the buying process. The step 1 of the buying process is they have to find you. So let's say Invisalign is one of those groups for you, Invisalign for adults. So when they type in those keywords, like we said, 40, 50 keywords related to Invisalign in your community, it could be zip code, it could be city name, it could be near me, it could be Invisalign gone wrong, whatever it is, right? Like, again, you don't need to figure it out. Google Analytics will tell you what those top 40 to 50 keywords are related to Invisalign in your community. Are you showing up? Are you at the top of Google search results? Why Google? Because Google controls 95% of the market. So of course, when you get an ace with Google, you're pretty much covered. Don't ignore ChatGPT. Don't ignore, the other search engines because they also are important. So you want to make sure you're there, but still 95% is Google. So on Google, if each one of these groups, are you ranking for 40 to 50 keywords? That's number 1. And the answer, honestly, having done this for 19 years, is most of you will get an F, meaning you're not even ranking for 5 keywords. For these, you don't even know your top 5. And once you know your top 5, you're not ranking for more than 5 keywords in each one of those top 5. So I think you should try to rank for at least 40 to 50 keywords in each one of your top 5. So that's the first place, right? And if you're an F, do something about it. Don't sit on it. Don't say, oh, too bad. Just fix it. Because if you don't fix it, your future, tomorrow, your next month, your next quarter is going to be as bad as your last one. Second one is when I go to that landing page, let's say you are in that top 5% who's ranking for 40 to 50 keywords related to Invisalign. When I go to that Invisalign page, do I see a welcoming video? Hey, I'm Dr. Smith. I've been helping patients with Invisalign, adults with Invisalign for the last 12 years. Look around my webpage. You will see a lot of different cases and different work I've done. And we would love to help you. Call our office. Simple. Just make people feel welcome, saying hello, using simple language, and that's the beauty of video today, right? In the old days, video means you have to send them a tape. Now, they can watch your videos on a mobile phone or any device, anywhere, anytime. So just use it, take advantage of it. Of course, highlight those cases, right? There should be 4 to 5 cases where you can walk people through. This is what the patient looked like. This is what they look like now. This is what we did. Simple cases, like 4 to 5, the more the merrier. So if you have 15, that's better than 10. If you have 5, that's better than 1. So just keep at it. So once you figure out these 4 or 5 key areas you want to dominate, you want to build those cases, build the SEO. So you want to get to if A means in SEO 30, 40 to 50 keywords, okay, where am I today? If A means with before and after pictures a dozen, then where am I today? Just keep at it. The next piece of the puzzle is, Google reviews. So do you have reviews that talk about this particular thing on a consistent basis? And if so, do you, keep getting more and more Google reviews? If you don't have enough Google reviews, just, lean into it, continue to work on it and get it. And the mark that I would give you there, this is the only place where I think most practices are doing okay. I would say 70% of you are doing okay. Try to get at least 10 love letter reviews every month. They're doing okay in terms of getting reviews. They're not getting paragraph or love letter reviews. So continue to get love letter reviews. I can do a separate episode on how to get love letter reviews, how to make that part of your process. But if anyone is interested, write to us and we'll send you that episode. I think I've already done something like that. So try to get 10 or more 5-star love letter reviews every single month. And last but not least is the phone experience. The average dental practice in the US is only booking 1 out of 3 new patients, right? 33%. That means if you're getting 100 new patients calling your office, especially high value services, very few are booking. Why? Your team doesn't know what to do. Nobody's tracking them. Nobody's telling them how good or bad they are. So they just keep doing what they did yesterday, which is they get the same results. 1 out of 3 are booking. Today also 1 out of 3 are booking. So one of the things we do for our clients is we track the calls. We tell them what their conversion rate is. And when they are not doing well, we help them. We support them. We help them, improve on it. The benchmark there is 70%. So at least 70% of your new patients should be booking, new patient callers should be booking an appointment. So to summarize again, are you ranking on SEO? Most of you will say, no, you're not ranking for 40 to 50 keywords in each one of those groups of patients, like Invisalign or sedation. Second, how's your landing page? Most of you will not have half a dozen before and afters. Most of you will not have a simple welcome video inviting people who are interested in Invisalign to look around that page and explore. So again, you're getting F or a D in the second question. The third one you are doing well in is Google reviews. So keep getting more, but try to get paragraph love letter reviews. That's the only tip I would give, and there is a whole method behind it. The last one, which most of you also again getting an F in, is conversions. Like how many new patients who are calling you are booking appointments, and the average in the US is 1 out of 3. So get it to 70%. Continue working on it. Find out what your conversion rate is. Your marketing company should be providing this. So these are the things I will look for. If you fix these things, you're going to do really, 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 really well. If you don't fix these things, you'll go in circles. You'll go in round and round and round and round.
Really appreciate you for sharing those benchmarks with our listeners there, Naren. It's always good to know where we are standing. So let's say for at least 3 of the 5 questions, our practice owner is doing poorly. Where should they start?
Yeah, I think first they need to find out. So I think it's very hard for human beings to find their own problems. So I would say book a marketing strategy meeting and have our team help you find out for what are your top 5 procedures, and for each top 5 groups of customers you want to be a hero to, and each one, how are you doing with SEO? Are you ranking for 40 to 50 keywords in each one, or you are not? If you're ranking really well in SEO, that's a good thing. Keep doing what you're doing. But I guarantee you 90% of you are not doing well, just because I've done this for 19 years and I know what the state of things are, right? So that's where I would start. The second is I would look at your landing pages. Again, the marketing strategy meeting, book that meeting, will help you understand how you're doing with your landing pages. Not only will we look at you, but we'll also look at your top competitors. So that way we can compare and contrast and say, what can we learn from them? What are they doing better than us? What are we doing better than them? So we can obviously customize our war plan, so to speak, to get the most out of it. So I think booking that marketing strategy meeting, I believe the link is lessinsuranceDependence.com/MSM is the best way to go about, solving this, and, and go for it. So that would be my recommendation.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Naren, for that wonderful insight. And that is a wrap for this episode on the Less Insurance Dependence podcast. Thanks for listening in, and we'll see you on the next one.